to make comments. In order for a citizen to make a comment, they must be physically present at the meeting. During the first opportunity, early on the agenda, comments regarding agenda items are invited. The second opportunity will occur just prior to adjournment, when residents may address general comments to the board. Mr. Usami, can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Blundo. Mrs. Varghese.
Yes.
Dr. Blundy. Mr. Luisi. Mrs. Martin.
Here.
Ms. Molinelli. Mr. Stankus.
Present.
Ms. Steffens.
Here.
Mr. Weaver.
Here.
Please stand for the salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are we on public comment?
Public announcement.
Oh, public announcement. Okay. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by mailing copies of said notice to the record, filing copies of said notice with the municipal clerks of Hillsdale, Montvale, Rivervale, and Woodcliff Lake, and publishing said notice in the record on August 15th, 2022. Next up, we have routine matters. We're going to start with the superintendent's report.
Thank you. So I'll be brief because we do have a curriculum update that we'll be looking at under presentations, but I did want to give a shout out. Our school counseling department and our principals and assistant principals organized a district-wide challenge day for all incoming ninth graders. This morning was the first day at Hills for half of the ninth graders, and it was a fantastic experience for them to be able to, build teamwork and build a team together. I hope it's an annual tradition that we see here, and I'm excited for the rest of the students at Hills to get to experience it tomorrow, and then the Valley students to get to experience it on Wednesday and Thursday. So a shout out to them for bringing that here and starting that great tradition. I don't have anything else to report. Mr. Usami, would you like to do the budget calendar?
Sure. We're going to go through the 2023-2024 budget calendar. This is also required by CUSAC. So actually on Monday, September 2nd, we distributed the 2023-2024 budget worksheets to the administrators and supervisors. I believe they could attest to that. So we start the budget process very early. It's a long process, and it's a lot of hard work. On Wednesday, this is Wednesday, November 23rd, the administrators will submit their completed budget worksheets to me. Then the week of December 7th, the superintendent and I will begin to review the administrators' budget worksheets. Then I have as a TBD at this point, Finance Committee meeting for the overview of the budget process, preliminary discussion of state aid and projected revenues, and also the fiscal 2022 audit, if it's not delayed. The week of January 9th, we'll meet with the administrators to discuss potential budget revisions. Another TBD would be the Finance and Budget Committee to review the tentative budget. The week of March 6th, the Finance Committee meeting, the tentative budget, to go over the tentative budget with full document, will be provided to the rest of the board in the agenda. Monday, March 13th is the public meeting to adopt the 2023-24 tentative budget, and it must be submitted to the county office. That deadline is currently Friday, March 17th. And then on Friday, April 21st, we will publish the budget and notice of public hearing in the record. Then on Monday, May 1st, we'll have the public hearing to adopt the proposed 2023-2024 school budget. Then the week of May 8th, we'll distribute the approved budget to the administrators. We'll prepare the 2023-2024 2024 tax requisition payment schedule. That's for the boroughs. And the A4F, that's a certificate of school taxes. Now, please keep in mind this is a tentative calendar, and we will have additional Finance Committee meetings as needed.
Thank you, Mr. Yusami. Next, we will have the student reports, and we'll start off with Olivia G. from Pascack Hills.
Hello everyone, my name is Olivia G and I will be giving this month's monthly student report for September. The first classroom item is on Monday, September 12th, the Writing Center opened to all students at Hills. It is a drop-in center staffed by English teachers who assist students with their writing at any stage of the process, from brainstorming to drafting to publishing. It is open every day during lunch in the library and has already helped many students with their writing skills. Next up is the co-curricular items. Number 1 is Amy Kimmel, a senior at Pascack Hills, recently participated as a forum member in an interview for an article Bergen Magazine published in their August 2022 issue. It provides insight into issues teenagers face from their perspective. The second co-curricular item is that last week, Hills had the first Spirit Week and Pep Rally of the year. All the students in every grade had a great time participating and showing their school spirit. For the first athletic item, after facing some construction delays, the track at Hills is finally in place for students and coaches to use for athletics. September 8th was the first day that students were able to go outside for physical education classes and walk laps around it. Additionally, Hills also had their first home football game last Friday and won 41-13. Looking forward to an amazing season. Lastly, there is just a fun little joke of the day. Why is Peter Pan always flying? Because he never lands. Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Isabella Velez from Pascack Valley High School.
As you said, my name is Isabel Velez, and I will be giving the report for September 2022. So our first classroom item is for the third year in a row, the Pascack Valley Choir was invited to sing at the 9/11 candlelight ceremony in Hillsdale to commemorate those who lost their lives. The choir, consisting of members of the chamber, concert, and lunch choirs, gathered on the evening of September 11th to sing the Star-Spangled Banner and God Bless America. The ceremony was very moving, and the community members really appreciated the performances that enhanced the whole experience. Classroom item number 2. Executive Council members will be visiting all senior English classes during the week of September 19th, which is this week, in order to register all seniors for voting. The Executive Council organizes the voter registration process each fall in order for all seniors to be part of the democratic process. Thank you to all the senior English teachers and Mrs. Matisich, the English supervisor, for working with the Executive Council on this very important task and lifelong right. First up on co-curricular items, the PV student government officers have had a very busy start of the school year, beginning with freshman orientation. The officers were a tremendous help and made the class of 2026 feel welcome for their first day at PV. Council members also played a pivotal role for our back-to-school night. Officers helped parents navigate the building and also promoted school spirit with their energy and Valley gear. The council is currently preparing for the upcoming freshman class council elections. Thank you to all the council members for making the start of the school year so memorable and successful. Co-curricular item number 2 is last week the PV National Honor Society partnered with the Spanish Honor Society and raised $984 at its annual Dr. Sapienza Scholarship Fund car wash. Thank you to all who supported this fundraiser. Coming up on athletic items, congratulations to PV cross-country runner Michael Pizzella for being nominated for North Jersey Varsity Aces Runner of the Week for the first week of the season. This is a remarkable acknowledgement for Michael and a testament to the entire team and coaching staff. Good luck with the rest of the season. Number 2, congratulations to the girls volleyball team for placing second in the gold bracket at the New Jersey Classic Tournament at Paramus High School. The team also defeated perennial state power Demarest in 3 sets. This is the first win over Demarest since 2012. Congrats to the entire team and coaches on both accomplishments. Fun fact number 1 is Valley Cup number 1 will be on Friday, October 7th. Executive and class councils are beginning to plan for the special event. We are proud to announce that the PV Choir will be performing the national anthem at all of our Valley Cups assemblies throughout the year. Also, we are excited that the PV Drumline will be performing their routine once again for the Valley crowd. We look forward to our upcoming Valley Cup events. Good luck to all the grades with our annual year-long competitions. My joke is, what is Forrest Gump's email password? That's 1 Forrest 1.
Okay, thank you, ladies. Next up, can I get a motion to, oh no, sorry, I'm missing, no, did I miss anything? No. Can I get a motion to approve the August 29th regular meeting minutes and 2 executive session minutes, please?
So
Second. Any discussion? Roll call, please, Mr. Usami.
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Stankus?
Yes.
Ms. Steffens?
Yes.
Mrs. Varghese?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Abstain on the first executive meeting, yes on the other 2. Didn't the regular meeting start at 7:30? These times are like flipped over. So we had the executive meeting, the regular meeting, then the executive.
Again, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. No, so we always start in regular, and then we immediately move to executive. That's why it looks weird like that, but you're correct that then the first executive ended at 7:30, and the meeting continued.
I wasn't at the first one.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, we have the presentations, and I asked Dr. Backenheimer to step forward and begin the presentations on the department highlights and goals.
So we're going to have
We
to
have to go
actually
down, right?
Yeah.
While we're getting set up, I invite members of the board to come down to the front row so we can put our screen down.
So there's a better way to go down? I'm following you now.
Got it. Everybody here? Yes, we do. So I can face you rather than pointing up to here. So welcome. Oh, else mic won't pick up. So, all right, we'll do it like this. I'll spin around this way. So at least I can see you then. Better. So thank you, everyone. So this evening, I'm going to be brief so that our supervisors of instruction can spend their time explaining. I just wanted to talk about our format for this evening. Very excited to have our various supervisors of instruction share some departmental highlights, a brief review of some goals from last year, and what our goals are going to be for 22-23. The format we're going to follow is something that if you've ever attended educational conferences, you might be familiar with, called Ignite, which is a large amount of information in a short period of time designed to keep high interest, high speed, but at the same time walk away very informed. So each of our supervisors are going to share brief information about the department. As you can see, we have a lot of folks here, so without further ado, I'll turn this over first to Mrs. Matisich, who's going to start with English.
Thank you, Dr. Backenheimer. Good evening, everyone. I just have it on my phone since now the laptop is not facing me, and I don't want to face that way. No, yeah, thank you, Barry, thank you. So, First, we're going to project the goals for the English department for the year. And I really hate reading off slides when you can just read for yourself. So if everyone wants to take a moment and read what I have up there, and I will highlight the salient points, which I've also highlighted in yellow, and I think they will make more sense in context of a later slide that I have as well. But clearly, obviously, we focus on reading skills and using choice by and large to drive the skill work that we do with the students. We're introducing more timed writing and on-demand writing, so that's something new that we're adding in, as well as the process pieces that we do. I'm super excited to be bringing to the board, hopefully next month, our newly written curriculum for next year's implementation. So we're going to start just infusing some of those concepts this year as a pilot once it's approved. And my next slide is nice pictures of the Writing Center, but we're thrilled that the Writing Center is back this year as a Tier 3 support. So that's also part of our goals, is to make sure that's fully staffed, up and running, and eventually we have bigger plans for it. And I was pleased with the attendance last week. For very early in this school year, we already had 10 students in each school utilize it, mostly for college essay, but there were actually some assignments that were being worked on as well in the other classes. And so now we'll get into what were our metrics last year. We really only used two. We used Common Lit, an online service that we paid a subscription for, to purchase like pre, mid, and post-year assessments, and we did our own homegrown grammar benchmarks. So the grammar benchmarks are staying, but those Common Lit reading benchmarks are not going to, and I'll explain that on the next slide. We really realized that, yes, did students improve in the skills we were looking at? Yes, we had identified a skill for each grade level that specifically those teachers were working on. We were pleased with the results, but really what came out was that students need a lot more work with nonfiction overall, and we really need to be monitoring that more closely. So the 3 times a year really, frankly, wasn't enough in our estimation, and so we've just added more. So we're instituting universal practices that will be applied at every grade level, every course, regardless of the teacher, regardless of the course content. And so you can see there what those are. So there's going to be, we're using Newsella as a website to have students do weekly nonfiction reading and annotating. We're continuing our individualized vocabulary training with more frequent quizzing so that students can really, teachers and students can really see how they're doing. We're infusing now written responses to literature, and probably my first professional development with the teachers will be on how to construct a specific type of reading response, and those will vary by grade level but be universal. Again, we're introducing timed writing. Most teachers have given their first timed writing of the year. Students haven't done that in quite some time, and maybe some of the students here can attest to that if they've done theirs already. So I'm curious to see how that comes out, and we'll definitely be looking at our grading criteria and how we're all working together to score them holistically. And we are keeping the grammar lessons and benchmarks, as I said, but again, upping the frequency of the formative assessments and the skill work being done at each grade level. And that's it. I'm going to turn it over to Megan Graziano, the science supervisor.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Let me take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Megan Graziano, and I'm the new supervisor of instruction for science and tech ed. I'm very happy to be here. So, for our science metrics report, last year, the department worked on developing a benchmark assessment that was piloted with the biology students and only the biology students. This summer, I had the honor of working with several teams of teachers to expand upon that and to also develop additional benchmarks for both our chemistry and our physics students. For all 3 of these core science courses, our students are going to be assessed 2 different times using 2 different benchmarks. And the focus of these performance-based benchmark assessments is to determine whether or not students are meeting the expectations, specifically focused on the 8 science and engineering practices outlined in the NJSLS for science. And these are the 8 practices that you can see here. Over the summer, our teachers were also very busy developing curriculum and updating it in order to align to new standards for New Jersey, specifically making sure that we have proper alignment for the computer science and design thinking standards, the career readiness, life literacy, and key skills, as well as climate change. And the technology education courses also worked very hard to make sure that their course curricula were updated to also reflect best practices as well as updates in the standards. Our main goals for this year are to continue providing students with the inquiry-based 3-dimensional laboratory activities in every science course, mainly to work on the development of those science and engineering practices, utilizing the course content more as a vehicle for developing those skills. We're excited to be integrating some newly acquired data collection technology in all of our courses and in our lab activities, and to take these new benchmark assessments, utilize data from them in order to best inform our instruction. I included here just a few snapshots that I have taken over the first couple of weeks where students have been engaged in various lab activities. Here we have students that are separating their Drosophila for their molecular genetics lab. We have students working on a forensic anthropology exploration in our SUPA forensic science course. We have students doing a rate of transpiration lab in AP Environmental, and our honors biology students were already busy graphing, analyzing, and collecting data in order to determine whether or not mints changed the environment temperature around them. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to a great year.
I'm not used to the microphone. I have a very loud voice, but I'm going to use it just for the people at home. Thank you, trustees, Superintendent Bellotti, for having me here tonight. I'm going to be focusing on three issues, three areas, and that's metrics, curriculum, and the real-world learning and civics goal. So first off, we've had great success in the Social Studies Department over the past year identifying areas, these 6 historical thinking concepts, and teaching those methods within each of our classes. Teachers placed information on Canvas, had assessments connected to it, utilized these 6 throughout the teaching experiences and learning experiences through the school year. We're going to continue with that in 22-23, our school year, and we're going to have some active benchmarks, and these are based on primary sources that are coming from the Stanford History Education Group out in California, and these are all vetted and they're based on specific grade levels and core courses. So we're having great success with this, and I think our students are understanding the importance of these 6 skills. Next, over the summer, I had the opportunity to gather some teachers, Ms. Leah Jerome and Ms. Jane Yeem, focusing on the core courses in social studies and making sure that we are meeting the SLS when it comes to the new mandates, when it comes to LGBTQ+ disabilities, DEI, and AAPI. These individuals, especially Leah Jerome in this case, spent time at the county level to help develop lessons and develop resources for the social studies department. And you're going to be approving that tonight as part of your board packet. The other exciting piece is that there's new opportunities for the 23-24 school year. Over the summer, Matt Schulian and Corinne Gamgord, our business teachers, both at Valley and Hills, helped to develop 5 new courses. And just to give a little backstory, when I started here 20 years ago, there was a 1-semester business course. And that was personal finance. We're up to 10 courses now, and I can honestly say that what we're offering here at the Valley and at Hills is on par with other high-performing districts. So we're really excited for these courses to be offered to our students. And how did we get here? We leveraged our connections within the community and asked those mentor sites, what are you looking for? What are some areas in which we can better when it comes to offering our students? The final piece, which all of these were approved at the last board meeting, but the one that's kind of exciting, the Elements of Financial Literacy piece is for our LLD program. This is a full-year course. Students are working with, Mr. Volk at Pascack Hills and learning the elements of financial literacy so they can better themselves and prepare for their future. It is directly connected to our transition ed course. So there's the theoretical aspect, which is what Mr. Volk is teaching, and then Ms. Forte is taking that to the next level when the students go out into the community and learn what they practice what they have learned from the business side. It's an exciting piece, and I know special education will be making a presentation at some point, and I'm sure I'll be looped back into that as part of this. And then finally, this is sort of an epiphany for me, right? So the real world learning and civics ongoing district goal, this is something that's going to be around forever. As long as I'm here, you're going to be hearing about it because it means so much. Concepts, transferability, and action. What the kids are learning in school, what the students are learning, what can they do with that in their own lives, in the community, to make it better? And what I've realized is that these two are linked. Real world learning and civics, there's not much difference between the two. And to measure it, to be successful when it comes to it, I believe that we can't just look just at what's going on in the social studies classes. It's not just about learning the Constitution. It's not just learning how to be a better citizen on paper, but it's going out into the community. And what better way to do this is to look at our various clubs. I would argue that we have one of the most robust list of clubs in the Bergen County, if not the state. Our students are, I'm getting some chills here, our students are amazing when it comes to the opportunities that they take advantage of. So a key measurement of the success of the school district goes beyond the classroom, beyond test scores. What are our kids doing out in the community to make the community better? So I am condensing these two, and we look, and you guys will be approving, the trustees will be approving the district goals tonight. I'm looking to connect these two, as it says in our vision statement, as a district. How can we truly make it better for the community through the students? So that's it for me. PE and health, which I'm glad to give over to Joe and to Steve.
Uh-oh. You rushed in there. I'm excited. You want to come up with me? Good evening. For everyone's knowledge, obviously, the health and phys ed standards, comprehensive health and physical education standards, have been changed in the last several years. The state changed the standards for 2020, and with full implementation by every school district in the fall of 2022. We were one of very few school districts throughout the state that had these up and running in 2021. So we had, we were able to see how these changes took place, what we had to move forward with, and how we can, better the opportunities for all of our students. For physical education, which I'll be speaking of, again, they were fully implemented for the fall of 21. The main goal in physical education was the move from, physical education used to be team sports. Now it's physical fitness. Go for it. This is great.
Teamwork.
Which is one of the competencies we still work on. Okay. So the change from physical education, from team sport to physical fitness and wellness, to create a lifelong fit individual. The main goal is to create that move and to teach people how to be fit for life. Things like cardiovascular fitness, yoga, strength and endurance training, nutrition, things that students will need to become adults in the future. There's still some team sports that are going to be played. If you go outside, you'll see some team sports still taking place in order to work on those competencies of cooperation, sportsmanship, preparation, motivation, and so on. There's a stat that a majority of individuals, once they get to the age of 21, will never play a team sport again. So why are we learning all different team sports growing up? So you see the change from physical education to becoming physical fitness. If you look around our facilities, the opportunities and amenities we offer our students rival any other school district in the state. Our fitness centers, as you can see on the screen, rival many gyms. So we are, on the cusp of creating lifelong, physical fitness individuals, some people who will know how to not look like this. Thank you.
Good evening. So I'm going to take over the health part of it, and I know last year we worked very hard on the new curriculum to get it rolling for the, for last school year. So as far as the phys ed part of it went last year, it was a little tough, touch and go in the beginning with COVID and going on, and we couldn't do certain things, and we had to stay masked, and it was a little difficult. But as the school year went on, we saw that we were able to do a little bit more and more with the kids. And this year, the teachers and the students seem a lot more into it, and they've been a lot more active, so we're doing well there. But as far as the health itself goes, really our biggest goal is to really promote the students' enjoyment of life for now and in the future. And how can we do that for them? And really, we try to get them prepared to succeed in life for their overall health, all right? Mental health, social health, and disease prevention, okay? So a few ways that we've been doing this, okay, is, through nutrition, through wellness, okay? All of our freshmen and seniors, they go through a nice, course of emotional health, nutrition, social health, stuff to help them succeed in life, especially our seniors. When during their senior year, we really help them to try to prepare them for their, what their life will be after high school, whether it be college or work, whatever it is. We help them to try to get them better prepared for that life that they're going to see, social, how to handle their emotional health, how to handle their social health, and how to protect themselves moving forward. Each of our freshmen and juniors, okay, will be certified in CPR, AED, and first aid, and all of our juniors will be trained in Stop the Bleed, okay? So this allows for each one of our students, by the time they graduate, would have been certified twice in these two things, okay? So this was a goal that we established back in 2015, all right, where we said that, hey, each of our kids, each of our teachers, each of our coaches are all going to be certified in CPR and AED. And it was a nice initiative that we pushed back then, and it really has taken hold and has gone very, very well over the past, bunch of years. Oh, all right, so that concludes for us, and
Good evening. My name is Noemi Rodriguez. I'm the head of the World Language Department here. In addition to that, ESL, Music, and Family Consumer Science. But tonight, specific to World Language, I'm just going to share a few things that we've been working on as a department, both last year and obviously going into this year. So the first being that we talked a lot about the 2020 standards with World Language and focusing on proficiency and focusing on student growth and really looking at a continuum in our program with the optimistic hope that our kids would take languages for all 4 years so they could see their growth from freshman to senior year. So with that in mind, last year we decided we wanted to step away from the computers and really focus on writing and pen to paper. We were going back to the marble notebooks and just seeing what the kids could do in particular different scenarios and looking at how they develop their writing from the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and then the end of the year as well. We also implemented a lot of student conferencing, which aligns to just making sure that we're checking in with the kids on a more frequent basis and making sure that they feel supported and heard in our classes, which aligns thankfully with our vision as a district with inclusivity and equity in mind. So you'll see on the screen there, we have utilized integrated performance assessments for the last so many years, since 2015, since we originally redesigned the curriculum. And now all of the languages are utilizing the same 4 units of study. And again, focusing on proficiency as our goal and making sure that our students feel comfortable when they leave, let's say, our classroom, being able to interact and communicate in the target language as best as they can, really equipping their toolbox with as much as they possibly need to go out into the world and utilize the target language. So you'll see here, I have it linked in this slideshow, the guidelines that the department developed both last year with presentational writing, and then this year we're focusing on presentational speaking. So really seeing what the kids can do with the language, again, thinking about the prompts at the beginning of the year, midway point, and end of the year. So you'll see there that we utilize all the standards both at the state and national level with looking at novice, intermediate, and advanced levels of proficiency for our kids. And our tasks and our goals designed by the teachers all align with those particular points in time. So we are excited to do that work. I just also wanted to include that as a department, the presentation that the students had done along with Dr. Russo last May really shaped a lot of our end of year conversations. And thinking about what the students were reporting and sharing, we wanted to also include that in what we do each day across the team. So thinking about world language, music, facts, and also our ESL classroom. So our essential question for the year that will guide a lot of the work that we do, especially in department meeting times, is thinking about how our students feel safe and more so emotionally safe. Thankfully, most of the times we're physically safe now that the pandemic is hopefully on its way out. Supported, valued, heard, and seen in our classrooms. So this is something that as a department, or as a team I should say, we're putting more emphasis on. And then just a point of pride, thankfully, thanks to your support, we've continued with the Seal of Biliteracy. We're one of the few districts in the state that's in the 7th year of participation. So as soon as the program was available, I jumped on it, seeing that this was another way to showcase and highlight what our students can do so well. And thanks to budgeting, we're able to go ahead pay for the exam, so that way it's of no cost to the students if they're interested. It's just the time that they need to dedicate to the exam and obviously demonstrating how well that they do. I'm just super proud that we have students who have earned the seal in Arabic, Chinese, French, Hindi, Korean, Japanese, Italian, Polish, Russian, and Spanish over the past 7 years. So it's really, really exciting to see them continue. Last year we set a record of 109, so despite 2 years of virtual, not really sure what's going on instruction, the kids and the teachers did amazing work, and a lot came out for testing. And right now, based on June's testing, I have about 60 some odd students who have already earned the seal, and I'll be testing again in October with whomever's interested. So just wanted to share that as a point of pride. Mathematics is up next. There you go.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me. Last year, teachers created benchmark assessments for each of our 3 core courses of Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 with an alignment to the NJSLA, ACT, and SAT. Findings from these assessments include the importance of multiple representations, the need to not only teach students mathematics, but how to solve mathematics in different problem situations, and then there are various concepts and skills that we will continue to focus on. On this slide, if you're interested, there's a good one that you could spend some time playing with. So that's an example of a problem from Algebra 2 with trigonometry. This coming year, we've decided to streamline the process by utilizing Linkit benchmark assessments, which will enable us to more quickly and readily identify relative strengths and weaknesses for students in our core courses. We're in the process of implementing a diagnostic this month, and then a Form B around the midterm period, and a Form C around the final exam period, which will give us usable information, but which will also give students an opportunity to have more experience with a more formal cumulative assessment. On this slide, you'll see initial diagnostic results for Algebra 1 and Geometry, which gives us some information as to how much of the end of course expectations they already know. So in addition to the departmental metric work, there's a lot of excitement in the world of math and computer science. So first, with this board's support, as well as the curriculum committee, our hope is to continue with our goal of moving geometry to be our first course in our course sequence, which would enable our algebras to be back-to-back, which will enable us to do pretty amazing things in terms of building one on the next and getting students ready for what comes after. Aligned with Mr. Orlak and the goal of professional studies and civics, I regularly speak about the importance of probability and statistics, and we're continuing to build those courses, but also infuse it in courses that other students take, so that ideally all students will have had training in probability and statistics, which will enable them to be better educated consumers and producers of quantitative information. That third person is a very happy science mathematics student because this past year, math and science teachers worked together to try and determine overlapping areas of need and how we can best support one another. That work continued over the summer, and we're proud to say that we're already doing some work in our Algebra 1 courses that we think will better position students to be successful in both math and science. And then finally, in the world of computer science, there are new state standards that we already were doing in so many of our courses, but 2 of our teachers did the work to align those with our 4 computer science courses, and also see some of the ways that our statistics courses, as well as some courses outside of math and computer science, can help students engage with those computer science standards. And so that's one of the things that we've been working on as we continue to try and refine our courses and look for new topics, concepts, and fields like cybersecurity that students will need to engage in a computer science heavy world. And then not on, with some fun, fine clip art here, but we're continuing to do the work to try and determine all sorts of useful pathways for students so that they can successfully engage with mathematics in ways that are meaningful to them. So we have a very well-defined calculus pathway. We have a growing statistics pathway, but we're continuing to explore quantitative reasoning as a pathway for students and potentially data science as a pathway for students as well. And Paul, I tried to do a good job with my citations. I hope that's good. Yeah. And then shifting over to equity and inclusivity, as the result of the 21-22 school climate survey, student representatives came to the Board of Education and made several recommendations, including training on social emotional learning, diversity, faculty and student training, and restorative justice practices. So we take those recommendations very seriously, and that will be a primary focus for us this year with our school climate teams, these 4 goals. And our plan is to update the board on our progress, and as well as update the board on new data as we get it from the 22-23 school climate survey. That is not our data, that is just an example from the NJ Sky website. Thank you, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Merritt and Dr. Strunsis.
Good evening, everybody. You've heard from our colleagues about the content that our students are engaging with, but Dr. Strunsis and I are going to present on what's really actually below all of that before we even access the content, and that's wellness. So our approach to wellness is really a 3-pronged approach. We have students, we have community, and then we also have our staff. So from a K-8 perspective, my main role is really supporting our K-8 students and the district initiatives that are taking place within their home district. From a 9-12 perspective, yeah, Dr. Strunsis.
Yeah, sure. Good evening, everyone. I know you can read the slide behind me, but it really begins, with the counselors working one-on-one with their students and in small groups as well. It's a hallmark of our department, and certainly a hallmark of our district. But this past year, 21-22, we put on multiple programs on healthy relationships, alternatives to violence, healing space, and more. During finals week, we provided stress reduction workshops. Many of you saw the dogs, throughout the building, throughout the course, not just at the end of the year, but throughout the course of the year. And certainly, as Ms. Bellotti indicated just a couple minutes ago, we tried to bring Challenge Day here last year, but that thing called COVID got in the way of that, unfortunately. But we're proud to be implementing that this week in the schools, Pascack Hills, as Ms. Bellotti said, today and tomorrow, here at Pascack Valley on Wednesday and Thursday. Really, it's all just to support our students, their academic, their social, emotional well-being. As Alyssa shared, that's the hallmark, that's the star, that's the foundation of learning.
From a community perspective, last year and the previous year, we partnered with the high school guidance department and offered parent support groups for our regional communities. So it was a K-12 initiative where we got to work with the counselors at Pascack Hills and Pascack Valley, and then we also had members of the community who joined us virtually and in person. The topics are listed on the slide. Our intention is to continue with that programming this year, but we're just still in the initial phases of planning. Do you want me to keep going? Oh, all right. Here I am. We also have the Hills Valley Coalition, which is a wonderful community partnership. They put on a lot of really great programs. And then every year we have the annual wellness fair. In terms of staff initiatives, this is something that I do a lot of work with, especially in our sendings. My focus this year is, I'm going to call it instructional wellness, which is just a term that I'm going to coin for the year. So if it goes big, that was right here. One way that we're working on instructional wellness with our staff regionally is just bringing back those articulation meetings. With COVID, we had to say goodbye to a lot of the practices that we know are best practice in education, but we had to say goodbye to them. So we're bringing our articulation meetings back across content areas, across grade levels. So that's huge to open up conversation and just have success within our community. As you heard from all of my colleagues, there have been quite a few curriculum revisions, so we have been working tirelessly on those as well as a region. I provide coaching support to all of the staff, and we have mentoring sessions, which we've recently launched into our 3rd year. So strong staff programming supports strong student learning, so we're continuing to develop those programs as well. There's also a second cup of coffee, which I'm hoping to bring into the buildings this year because COVID's kind of on its way out. And it's really just a drop in teachers to support staff with what they need, questions they have, instructional practices that they might want to work on. So it's just an opportunity for them to have some downtime to talk about that. Do you want to talk about your program?
Sure.
Okay.
And then we will continue at the high school and the middle school, certainly articulation meetings quarterly throughout the course of this year. I work very closely with one of the middle school counselors, as do members of the counseling team, and I've been in contact with them since the beginning of the school year, and we're in the process of setting up those calendar dates this year. And we'll discuss all the issues that are germane to us as school counselors, but most importantly, for our students, many of the topics which we discussed and addressed this evening. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Barry?
So from the brief reports that each of our supervisors gave, I hope you picked up on three main things. The first is their enthusiasm. We have outstanding supervisors in each of our roles, and as you can see, they bring that enthusiasm to their staff and to our curriculum for new ideas, making sure that we are on the cutting edge and that we're doing things that are good for students and good for our community. Second is competence. The obvious that you can see that they spend a lot of time making sure that we are aligned with not only the standards, but exceeding the standards and putting those together. And the last piece is coherence. Hopefully you also picked up the fact that each, as they all presented, you saw overlap between several subjects. In many cases, how they're building off of each other, working with each other, collaborating, not just within our 9 to 12, but as Alyssa shared, also with our K through 8s as part of the K through 12 regional experience that we have. So pulling all this together, our district goals might seem a little familiar because we felt that last year's goals was a great start and we want to keep working with them. So tonight we're asking for the board's approval of 4 goals. Number 1, continuing the focus on student wellness. As was shared, whether it's in physical education and health, through our counseling department or through our regional K through 8 curriculum office, working together to focus on student wellness and wellness initiatives, especially as we continue to come out from COVID and address social and emotional issues for our students. Our second goal, you heard from our instructional supervisors about the various areas that we continue to measure, both internal and external measures, benchmarking, to make sure that we're doing as best as we can by our students. And these measures will be at the beginning and throughout the course of the year so we can monitor our understanding, making sure we're meeting and exceeding standards for our students and they're well prepared for that next level. Additionally, as Mr. Orlak shared, this idea of real-world learning overlapping in all of our subjects, as well as civics program overlapping into our extracurriculars and curricular programs, making sure that students have these skills and the knowledge to advance as they move on to the next stage in their lives and careers. And then lastly, as Dr. Russo shared, the work of inclusivity and equity throughout the district, making sure that students have the resources available to them and that they are safe and feel welcome in all areas of our school and through all of our subjects and all these facets. So we are hoping for board approval this evening for each of those district goals. I now turn it over to Ms. Bellotti, who's going to talk about board goals.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Bockenheimer. Thank you, supervisors. I think the thing that I find most notable as I'm listening to these presentations, and Dr. Bockenheimer kind of touched on this, the fact that our administrative team is so cohesive, they communicate regularly with each other, but also they're cohesive with their own departments. And when you have teams that communicate and that work together on common goals and on a common set of shared themes and a shared vision, I think that that's where you really see student achievement continue to grow. I'm very impressed with everything that we just saw. I'm so impressed with the work that you continue to do in your departments, and I'm glad that we're a part of this where there's always a focus on students and always a focus on data and using that data to help us figure out what can we do next and what can we do more and what can we do better. And I see that in every conversation that we have, and it's really impressive. One of the things that I wanted to mention, the board did meet over the summer. We had a retreat. At that retreat, we discussed a little bit about what are some of the things that the board would like to see us focus on. Some of those topics have been incorporated into the district goals that were just shared, and then the goals that I'm about to share were the collaborative goals that really focus on the board itself. So this is a little bit less curriculum focused and less focused on the board as an entity. So we've got 2 goals. The first is emphasizing input from all stakeholder groups, including student students, staff, and parents, the board will begin strategic planning through the Portrait of a Graduate process. And goal number 2, align with the district's vision to promote student and educator achievement through the development of skills needed to compete and collaborate as ethical and responsible global citizens. Board members will attend at least one educational professional development event during the 2022-23 school year. So like I said, these are goals that really are focused on the board itself, and we're looking at trying to enhance the work that we're doing district-wide. That's the end of our presentation. I'm not sure how to, I don't know how to disconnect this. So I'll leave it here. Do any board members have any questions?
If you're going to have discussion, you might want to have it at the table so that you can hear it.
Oh, thank you. Okay, we'll move back up.
I forget what he did. He like took over some person. Are you Jack? How is it at your school? Is it really like involved? We do like, right? It's just like, okay, good. Okay. It's just like it's in person. Yeah.
Were there any questions by board members for myself or any of our supervisors?
Thank you very much. The presentations were
Terrific. Thank you.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment, and I think that I especially feel this way after back to school night the other day. How blessed are our children to be in such a district where they have so many opportunities. It really amazes me just listening to everyone, whether it's the mental health, whether it's the learning, physical instruction. It just is really, really amazing, and I think we have a wonderful district here, and that really supports the students, and I applaud all of you for being part of it.
Thank you.
And I share that enthusiasm for our teachers and staff here, the nurses, what they've gone through with the COVID and how they still dealt with our kids with a smile. And I just really am very thankful that I'm here. I know both of my children have had wonderful experiences here, and I thank the supervisors for your support of your staff, and they really are genuinely fond of their students and are there for them, and I really do appreciate that.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to thank our supervisory and curriculum team for being here tonight. They've had a very long day. Many of them took part in Challenge Day today, and some are taking part in tomorrow, supervising athletic events. So with the board's permission, I'm going to excuse them and say thank you very much for your time, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That concludes the presentations. And so at this time, we are at comments from the public. Any member of the public who wishes to comment may do so on agenda items. Please state your name, township of residence, and which agenda item you are addressing. Seeing as how there's no one, that concludes public comment, the first part. Next is policy. Can I have a motion for the policy items 1 through 7?
So moved.
Second? Any discussion? Roll call, please, Mr. Usami.
Mrs. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Stankus,
Yes.
Ms. Steffens,
Yes.
Mrs. Varghese,
Yes.
Mr. Weaver.
Yes.
Next up, we have education. Can I have a motion for items 1 through 5 under education?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Just 2 comments on this part. One is a huge thanks to the volunteers who are stepping up for the Hills soccer and football. It's nice to see people, coming out and helping out in the community. And I'm sorry, my next one's for 10. Forget it. Next part.
Okay. Roll call, Mr. Usami?
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Stankus?
Yes.
Ms. Steffens?
Yes.
Mrs. Varghese?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Next, we have Human Resources. Can I have a motion for the items 1 through 22 under Human Resources?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
This is the one I had. So I wanted to say a huge thank you. I'm sure he's not here, but hopefully I'll get back. I think it's Mr. Pasquale for staying on. It's very commendable that he's staying on to help out with that band program, because I know sometimes when you're ready to retire, you're ready to retire. So I wanted to thank him. And also for all the teachers stepping up. It seems like a lot of teachers are stepping up to improve the experience for our students, whether it be smaller class size or giving them more opportunities. Again, very commendable, and I want to thank the teachers for doing that.
Okay. Roll call, please, Mr. Usami?
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Stankus?
Yes.
Ms. Steffens?
Yes.
Mrs. Varghese?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Next, we have Finance. Can I have a motion for items 1 through 12 under Finance?
And the supplemental one.
And the supplemental,
So moved.
1 through 4. Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
So just for number 5, we wrote the ESSER funds in the Writing Center, and we had a presentation this evening. So I would be curious to maybe get data from previous years on how exactly students are using the Writing Center and how many hours the Writing Center has been used in the past. I mean, we did talk about ESSER funds and how we can continue certain things. So how much more money is being spent on the Writing Center this year with ESSER funds versus previous years? And how has the Writing Center been used by students previously and now? I know we're talking about finance, but there was reference made to students who have used the Writing Center to date, have done it for college essays. So, we've had some conversation too as a board, going back to the retreat and in the last few meetings about college and, career and technical education. So, is that Writing Center just being used for certain purposes, or does it lend itself more to students who are maybe not in need of supports, because we know maybe sometimes kids who are struggling may not be necessarily inclined to reach out, and how are we reaching those students? So I'm curious to learn more about the Writing Center and how that works and how it's meeting student need of students who may be in need of support and maybe not necessarily inclined to seek it out themselves. And then I guess just a bigger conversation on that college and technical education piece, and I'm curious and interested to learn how that is being teased out in our work to accomplish our goals this year. Just figured I'd tie both in since we've been talking about the ESSER and it's up for approval now.
Anyone else? Roll call, please, Mr. Usami?
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Stankus?
Yes.
Ms. Steffens?
Yes.
Mrs. Varghese?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Okay. Next, we have old business. Any old business?
I do have a question. So I have a question with regard to, it reminded me, because Councilman Roche, who was here for the presentation, had texted me on the way in asking if there was still a meeting tonight, and I responded yes, because he was having trouble getting service in the building. So I remembered we had conversation maybe last year about the construction of an antenna.
Cell tower.
Cell tower. Did that ever happen? Is it still on the
We're still investigating. I mean, Verizon told us that they basically said, no, they're not doing it.
Didn't they come to us asking if they could do it?
That was quite a while. That was like the first time I was here. They asked about a real cell tower, but that didn't go into effect. But this is something that we were looking into, something smaller. I think they came up with something that's size of a large trash can that could be put up. But my understanding is we reached out to one of the architects who we've been working with because they had done something in another district that had the need. But Verizon or Fios or whomever basically said, no, they're not interested in doing it at this time. It could come back. I don't know. They also reached out to AT&T Mobile.
Who is they?
The architect.
Okay.
The architect who knows the third-party person who does these type of things. But we have not heard back. It seemed like they were not interested either.
So that limits, there's only so much that we can control for this. The other thing that we've looked into is Mr. Zeller actually had a consultant come in to see if we could install boosters. That's another option for schools that are in dead zones. Unfortunately, that's not an option for us because the low cell signal is so low that we actually cannot do that either. So, short of reaching out to these companies and asking them if they would be interested in partnering with us or installing our own boosters, those are the only two things that we can kind of directly control, but there's other things that we've been looking into and that we've been trying to get some support on. So I did reach out to our local U.S. Congressman's office because there are federal funds available for rural school districts to increase their internet. He was looking into it and said he would get back to me. So that would be, an avenue. If people are concerned, I would say reach out to some of our state, Senate and congressional representatives and or our U.S. congressional representatives. That would be Josh Gottheimer's office at the U.S. level. He's actually successfully brokered cell phone towers being put up in areas of low cell service throughout other areas of the state that he represents, which made me think that maybe there would be some possibility of partnership there. We've also reached out to Hillsdale, and I've had some conversations with the superintendent there to see if there's any way that the two of us could partner, because obviously, their board office and building are right there in the same kind of valley that we're in. This also impacts a number of residents. I mean, we're not just talking about the school, we're talking about almost the entire town of Hillsdale and Rivervale. So, this is a much bigger sort of problem than just our problem, though I think that if we, as our own elected body, can help leverage a solution, it's worth it for us to continue to try to broker that. But we've sort of exhausted solutions that we can ourselves implement.
Is it worth crafting a resolution and sending it along to those elected officials?
Yeah, it might be. Let me see if I can also get some of the town councils involved with it, because it's possible that we may be able to get some buy-in. The thing that we're going to be up against, to be very frank, is that if we're successful with this, the cell tower would be a real cell tower and it would have to go somewhere. And so I think that that's kind of the next hurdle that we would see. Because the land that is here at the school that would be appropriate for us, we don't own. It would be like the land in the back of the building. So the school itself has limited land that we could use other than our own roofs. So again, now we're outside of our own control. We've got to get some municipal or county agency to basically lease land to a cell company to make this happen. So I would say, yeah. I think that could be something that we would do. Let's wait until at least our next meeting so that I can have a better sense of exactly what we're asking for. Are we asking for land? Are we asking for buy-in? Are we asking for federal money? I'm not sure what our first step is going to be. I think we need to just have a couple more conversations.
What's the ballpark cost? I mean, I think when we spoke about it originally, when it was presented to us, Joe had asked a question because his concern was, disposing of it when it's reached its, the end of its lifespan, or when it's no longer as functional.
I'm not aware of that. I know that these companies pay us to put it in because it behooves them.
Right.
So they, like the one that was done by this architect or, you know, had some involvement with. I think it was Verizon, and they were paying the school district a certain amount of money each year for them to have this. I don't want to call it a cell tower because, like I said, it was about the size of a large garbage can. But that's what they're looking to do. They're willing to pay the school district or possibly municipality for that. But I don't know what happens at the end of life. I don't know if that becomes our responsibility or if that's
See, I
something
thought
like
we had,
Verizon would just take it away.
did I imagine we had this conversation? This is going back, Joe might remember, because Joe very specifically asked that question.
I remember the conversation, but I don't remember that detail.
Joe asked that, I just remember Joe asking that question because he had experience with it in Riverdale and wanted to make sure it didn't, you know, while we were getting paid for it, we didn't incur additional costs on the back end of it. And I thought the answer that came back was that, no, it's not something we had to be concerned with, so.
Yeah, I don't believe we would.
Well, they don't want to do it anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Not at this point.
Do you have aluminum foil? Get a student internship program where we can have them stand out on the roof.
Okay, any new business?
I just want to ask about the girls' locker rooms again.
I can give it, no, yeah, so we got a couple of plans back from the architect. Mr. Usami and I reviewed them with Mr. Donahue on Friday, I think we got them. We had a number of questions for the architect, so we asked him to clarify a number of our questions. We're going to review his updated plans hopefully soon, and then we would be at a point where we could share them. We asked him to actually add on some additional elements, and Mr. Donahue also asked him to actually create a second set of plans for sort of a additional option for us. So we're kind of waiting for him to sort of answer our questions and sort of adjust the plans based on the feedback. So I think that we're on a good path for it, and I think we'll have actual solid plans to look at. I'm relatively quickly. I think it took the architect about 6 weeks, do you think? About 6 weeks to do the first set of plans, so I would think that less than 6 weeks to do, you know, an update based on our questions.
Great.
Okay, next we have our second opportunity for public comment on any item. Please state your name and township of residence. You may step up to the podium. Okay, seeing as how there's no one, that concludes public comment. Okay, so that concludes our meeting. Can I have a motion for adjournment, please?
So moved.
Second? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent, thank you.